Hello everybody, and welcome back for the weekly recap. If you find this video useful, make sure that you give me a thumbs up down below to encourage me to make additional videos of this nature. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you will find additional videos of this nature, toolbox safety topic videos, and leadership training videos. Well, let's get right into it. This past week, I was assigned to a job. It's a multi-story implosion, 24 stories, 301 feet or something like that. It's planned sometime in the next year, but we're doing the preliminary work. And we've got 60, 70 people on the job site. And the leadership team is doing a fabulous job, as well as the people who are performing the work. And some of the things that I saw this week that I'd like to talk about that they're doing real well with is some of the following. Anyway, on this job, like I said, there are 70 people, and some of the items I'd like to talk about, I'll go over with you. Number one, the emergency action plan. Emergencies, they can occur on your job site. Include but are not limited to fires, spills, explosions, hazardous chemical releases, and weather-related emergencies. All personnel should know what actions they are to take in these emergency situations that may occur. Local emergency response services. We must know where they're at. Prior to the start of a project, project management are to conduct a pre-job survey of local hospitals, clinics, fire departments to establish the project's health and emergency care policy. This survey will determine what services are available, their proximity to the job, and the best response time to the service the project needs. Information regarding the name, location, and telephone numbers, as well as the directions to each facility, will be posted at the job site. The EAP showing any evacuation procedures or routes will be posted for all employees to review. The telephone numbers for local police and fire departments, ambulance service, local hospitals, management personnel, and client project management personnel are to be posted in a prominent place on the job site. Directions to the local medical clinic and hospital should also be listed along with a map. An emergency contact form should be posted and available for all site personnel to access. An evacuation route emergency action plan should also be posted in prominent places for all employees to review. The emergency action plan should be reviewed with all new employees and all employees on a regular basis. Next, I'd like to talk about respirators. Respirator inspection, use, maintenance, and storage. First, the pre-use inspection. I'm only going to talk about two, the N95s and the half face. Each respirator must be inspected by its wearer immediately prior to each use. The primary defects to look for in the inspection of component parts of the respirator and corrective actions where appropriate are itemized below. First, we'll talk about the N95 or the disposable respirators. Check for holes in the filter. If you find one, obtain a new disposable respirator. Check the straps for elasticity and deterioration and replace the straps if necessary and contact the manufacturer. Also check for the metal nose clip for deterioration if applicable. And if it's damaged, obtain a new disposable respirator. Then we have the half-face air purifying respirators. Rubber face piece. Check for excessive dirt and clean the face piece if necessary. Check for cracks, tears, or holes and replace the face piece if necessary. Head straps. Check for breaks or tears and replace as necessary. Also check for the loss of elasticity and replace it as well. Also check for broken buckles and replace the buckles if needed. Check the inhalation and exhalation valve and check for dirt or dust on the valve and then clean the valve if necessary. Check for cracks, tears, or distortion of the valves and then replace them if necessary. Finally, the filter element. Check for proper filter for asbestos or what other hazard you may be exposed to. Asbestos is a purple cartridge, the HEPA. Look for the filter approval number. Check the threads and replace the filters. Next, the procedures for cleaning and storage of respiratory equipment. Respirators shall be regularly cleaned and disinfected. Those used by more than one employee shall be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected after each use. This procedure is as follows. Before leaving the work area, each user must wipe down the respirator with a wet cloth to remove any asbestos-containing material which may have settled on the equipment. Respirator equipment shall be washed with detergent in warm water using a brush. Detergents containing bactericide should be used. Organic solvents should not be used because they will deteriorate the rubber face piece. If bactericide detergent is not available, the detergent used should be followed with a disinfectant rinse. Two types of disinfectants may be made from readily available household solutions. You can add 2 tablespoons of chlorine bleach to 1 gallon of warm water, or add 1 teaspoon of iodine to 1 gallon of water. A 2-minute immersion of the respirator into either solution would be sufficient disinfection. Respiratory equipment should be thoroughly rinsed in warm water to remove all traces of detergent, cleaner, and sanitizer and disinfectant. Respiratory equipment should be allowed to dry on a clean surface or hung on a horizontal wire. When not in use, respirators should be stored in a plastic bag with the face piece and exhalation valve in a non-distorted position. Repair or replacement of the component parts must be done by a qualified individual, normally a supervisor. Substitution of parts from a different brand or type of respirator will invalidate the approval of the respirator. Inspection for defects in respiratory equipment must be done before and after each use and during cleaning. Next, I'd like to talk about a safe job performance, the PTP and the JHA. For effective safety management, all jobs should be planned to control the hazard and minimize the risk of injury. Prior to the start of a project, the project manager, project estimator, and project superintendent should complete a job hazard analysis, also known as a JHA, in order to identify and control potential environmental health and safety risks for each job activity under the contract. The JHA requires a step-by-step plan for completing the JHA and a review of existing or potential hazards associated with the task. After hazards are identified, the control measures to be used to mitigate the hazards are listed. Now, once we've completed the JHA, there are some benefits that come during the development stages. Promotes the project team with resources to learn more about what the job entails. Promotes safer job procedures and working conditions. Can help improve cost and productivity. It also provides information to be used by the superintendent, area supervisor, or foreman for hazards and hazard controls. Next, we talk about the daily pre-task plans. In addition to the overall job hazard analysis, safety procedures require a daily pre-task plan, known as the PTP, to be completed daily per job, task, or crew. This technique allows the project team to think through the steps involved in executing their specific job task that day and determine how to complete the job safely by defining proper job procedures. For all projects performed, a daily PTP must be performed and completed for each task performed. Daily PTP should be written and discussed with all affected personnel, including subcontractors. All employees should be trained in hazard identification process and trained in areas of exposure. Now I'd like to cover some of the steps in the PTP. Number 1, breaking down the job. The first step in writing a PTP is to list each step of the job in order of its occurrence. The details should include a brief description of the task, careful not to be too detailed. For example, the first basic step in using a fire extinguisher would be to, number 1, remove the extinguisher from the wall bracket. Next, you would talk about identifying the hazards. Once job steps have been identified, each step must be then evaluated to determine the hazards that exist on that or that might occur. The hazards should also be prioritized based on risk associated with the task. The potential hazards should address both the hazard and the potentially affected body part if applicable. In the fire extinguisher example mentioned previously, one hazard might be a foot struck by the extinguisher, didn't grab it tight enough, fracture, bruised foot. Then we would determine safe procedures and protection. After each hazard and/or potential hazard has been identified and reviewed, determine whether the job could be performed in another way to eliminate the hazards, including but not limited to engineering controls, PPE, training, procedural changes. Again, in the fire extinguisher example, one safeguard would be grasp the fire extinguisher handle firmly. Finally, we can talk about revising the pre-task plan. A PTP can do much toward reducing accidents and injuries in the workplace, but must be reviewed and updated regularly to ensure effectiveness. If an accident or an injury occurs on a specific job, the PTP should be immediately reviewed to determine if changes are needed to the job procedure. In addition, if an accident results from an employee's failure to follow established job procedures, this should be discussed with all employees performing the job. The PTP should also be reviewed following any changes in condition, additional or different crew members assigned to the task, or after a lengthy break. Finally, I'd like to talk about communication. How are we communicating? Do we say when we find an issue we need to let the team know and then drop the ball only to get upset when we see the same thing repeated? And do we take corrective action, including disciplinary action, while the team members remain flabbergasted by the entire affair? Safety issues should first be viewed as an inadequate training issue. Does the team member understand the rhyme and the reason for the procedure, or is it all Greek to them? Train your team members in safety. Identify the hazard, train in the ways to mitigate the hazard, and if it's discovered that the employee understands but does not care, then disciplinary action is to be taken swiftly. Never endanger the health or life of others by allowing someone without a safety conscience to continue to participate in your project. Okay guys, that was kind of a lengthy one this evening. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. If you found this video useful, make sure you give me a thumbs up down below to encourage me to make more videos of this type. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel where you will find additional videos of this nature, along with toolbox safety topic videos and leadership training videos. Now, until we see each other again, take care of yourself because you're number one. Look out for your coworkers and ensure their safety. And more importantly, have a grateful day. And remember, I will see you in the field.